Hello my fellow Retromaniacs and welcome to Let's Read Electronic Gaming Monthly, issue number 54 from January 1994. So this is another major gaming magazine. This is based on Illinois, USA. And yeah, I have never read up any electronic gaming magazines because mainly it wasn't sold in Finland. Well, there might be some like imported magazines that were sold in like major stores in Helsinki, but you know, I'm from a rural town, so I only had like Finnish magazines in kiosk I could buy. So Mortal Kombat is the theme of the main theme of the magazine. We got first info on Sony's PSX. So yeah, it's interesting, the PlayStation. I actually don't know where the X comes from. What is supposed to be like aberration of PlayStation X. Yeah, it was always called PlayStation, and when PlayStation 2 was out, this was PlayStation 1. Next, FX 32-bit game systems. Interesting. So yeah, we've got the Neo Geo 3DO Jaguar as well. Okay, yeah, I just picked this randomly. Last time I read 1993 issue, so just to avoid reading the same reviews of the same games being reviewed again, I decided to pick a 1994 issue, although I think all the games are from 1993, so whatever. Okay, what do we have here? Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Both Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. Yeah, this is actually I think quite good game, though I have not played this. I think I saw some like ABGN mentioned this in one of his videos. I don't know if it was like praising it, or was it James and Mike Mondays that they played it? Because yeah, it's kind of like insane, I think. I don't know if it's more like a puzzle game or shooter game. What do we have here? Oh, Batman. Violence is video games. Video game violence is in the news again. Yeah, it was Mortal Kombat. I think it was like a big issue. It was like Barbara Bush. And then George H. Bush were like, video games are making our children psychopaths or something like that. Although it was probably right that there were many video games that young kids should not have been playing because there was no like parental guide system. Like nowadays we have PG-13, or like in Europe we have a like K-12, K-15, K-18 games, but again, I don't think nowadays how much parents actually obey those limits, even though I think it's even illegal to give a, let's say, R-rated game for a for a minor. But I don't think that anyone has ever gone to even a court because of that. So it's just still up to the parents what they decide. And maybe some kids can even buy their own games or just pirate it. So even when I was a kid, I got to play many games I shouldn't have been playing, like Doom or Quake or Redneck Rampage when I was like 7 years old, because I just they were on the internet in a demo mode or then you get them from your friends if there was no copy protection. Sometimes some like family members or aunts or uncles would give you a video game that is like has too high rating, but I don't think video game violence never affected me, although I think I saw some nightmares. Maybe from Redneck Rampage. I remember those like cave levels. They were quite claustrophobic. But you could still, it wasn't at least photorealistic violence back then. It was all like pixel sprite art. So I think these days when you have like very photorealistic graphics, so the violence is closer to the reality, although you still see violence a lot in Gaza and Ukraine. So maybe the kids these days, they are somehow desensitized with all the violence they see from like TikTok or YouTube and whatnot. I don't know, it will probably have an effect on them later on with some kind of a anxiety disorders and whatnot. GMPG games. Yeah, Nintendo is the Disney of our industry. Yeah, you could always like count that Nintendo would never release like R-rated game. I don't think they have ever released. Obviously, there's a Rare with the Conker's Bad Fur Day and James Bond, but that was a third-party game, even though Rare had almost like first-party license with Nintendo. But they will. I'm sure that there will never be R-rated Zelda or Mario game, even though that would be interesting. Like having swear words or blood in Mario games. But that's why we have ROM hacks. You can have all kinds of violence or pornographic content in ROM hacks. What do we have here? Jam Jam Jam. Okay. By Midway. NBA Jam. Okay. Sometimes you don't even realize what they are like trying to advertise. Handy gear for Game Gear. The hell is this? SJ Program Pad. Favorite Genesis game, Street Fighter 2. Okay. Check it out on the LCD screen. Wow. That was very advanced stuff. Pro Pad. STD. Who on his right mind would name his company STD? Yeah, I remember that AVGN rant about the company. Sexually transmitted disease. Yeah, I wonder when they realized that, okay, we need to change the company name. Okay, is this, yeah, the contents. Oh, it's just what we have here. Here we have NBA Jam, Sega games, Mortal Kombat 2, and then an advert for Yoshi's Cookie. Yeah, this game magazine seems to have a lot of adverts, and this has over 300 pages, so I don't know how many parts I have to divide this video into. Maybe I will like quick scroll some of the pages. Like there seems to be like 50 places of like special features. If they're like game guides, I can probably just scroll past them. We have a fact file, Super NES Times, Ninja Force, Fallout Amiga, Club Game Boy, Planet 3DO. Okay, so do I have like dedicated sections for different consoles? Interesting. Not just randomly shuffled for the page on the pages. Okay. NHL PA. That is this. Ay caramba. The hottest titles, state-of-the-art technology. What the me sampling? Can you handle it? Okay. Funtronics. Sears. Oh, okay, yeah, that's just a local hypermarket adverts here. Interface letters from the editor. Sega's rating system. Video game violence. Yeah, it seems to be a big thing. Late 1993. Guess who's starting in their own Sega Genesis game? With Nickelodeon. Ren and Stimpy, of course. Mickey Mouse. Oh, Sega's new game rating system. GA MA13, MA17. We have here. Yeah, I don't know if this magazine has any like PC games. It mentioned Amiga, but I don't know. So yeah, it will be interesting when the 3D cards appear in like 1995 and onwards. It's probably more interesting to read PC gaming magazines from that time, because you have like 3D games and like the state-of-the-art really graphics coming for home. Those that you could only have seen in arcades earlier. But yeah, this is still like a 16-bit era, and you'd have like Sound Blaster audio, Roland MT32 audio. Though I have not mentioned those being in reviews. I think nobody really cared about audio that much. so that there would be like special feature about different audio cards, like Gravis ultrasound or what was that Disney voice? What gifts would they want? Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, it seems in Mortal Kombat it was just huge. I think it was even a huger thing than Street Fighter 2. Although I never paid any attention to Mortal Kombat. I was more like interested in Street Fighter 2, and then I think Tekken. I used to play Tekken games while I visited my friends, because they all had PlayStation 1 and they usually had Tekken. And yeah, you know, two-player games you could play. Stimpy's Invention. Yeah, there were so many like Ren and Stimpy games released in a short period of time. They all sucked, as far as I know. European Racers. 3D animated instructions. Never heard of this game. It's supposed to be like a 3D game, or is it like a some kind of a simulation? What makes the game better? Or maybe like Need for Speed before Need for Speed. But I think Need for Speed was already like coming out around this time. Now 3DO, PC Engine. $99 for Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. Jeez. And people complain about the prices these days. With inflation corrected, this could be like, I don't know, 150 at least. Or game called Barney Must Die. What the hell? Street Fighter 2, $26 in Japan. Yeah, this was still the years when Japan was years ahead of us. But then they, at some point, got, you know, before recession. But I think, you know, they were like mobile internet already, like early type of like internet services, I think even for NES, but obviously then like satellite view for Super NES. So they were like experimenting things that only became like commonplace 10 or 15 years later in other parts of the world, like online gaming. Laser Active. I think Laser Active. That's not even like a video game console. It just have like full motion video and that's it. No real gameplay. Okay, I can't rotate this. Bad photocopy contest. A new feature to EGM is the official bad photocopy contest. You'll find this contest in every interface issue. What we did was photocopy a part of the magazine, blew it up, for 800%, and it's up to you to find it somewhere in the magazine. You don't win anything, but you can congratulate yourself if you find it. They're being silly. I hate that they do like vertical ads. There might be a shortcut to rotate the pages, but it's gonna start looking through the options now. The quality. Appropriate video games. I have a problem with your magazine. I'm done reading the first weeks. I have to do next week's rehab. I have found all your bad photocopy pictures, and I think even found Quarterman agent. Okay. What if he ever had a revelation? Okay, what about something really strange about the video game industry? You got some strange combinations, you feel everything is over. What if E-Honda beat everyone in Street Fighter 2 by eating them? Okay, it seems that this magazine has like different, not only reviews and news and previews, but like humor as well. What if your readers felt definitely in fighting games? Decided to sweat. A bit too graphic. Sonic was caught speeding in a school zone. Barbie was a menacer title. Yeltsin was one of the cover EGM now. Time had a video game. Games on the cover. Yeah, I don't think Yeltsin was in many video games. I think Gorbachev was in some video games, but not Yeltsin. And Bill Clinton obviously was in those midway games. Atari Jaguar. If they only knew what a piece of crap Jaguar was going to be. But yeah, everyone was like, oh, 64 bits. That's like 3 times the bits of Super NES. It must be a 4 times better. Super NES CD. It has good games. Not great games, but they will get better soon. Well, will be disappointed. Wolf Child. Watch Checkers Genesis. Never heard of this game. It looks cool. GVC. JVC, that's like a VHS player maker. What are they doing? What are they doing with video games? NES bashing. Yeah, I think NES was dead already by 1994. Dawn of 32-bit, 64-bit CD-ROM technology, the poor NES showing its age, losing ground. Getting ready for the graveyard of obsolete game systems. Well, I wouldn't call it obsolete. just natural evolution. Of progress. There are these postcard paranoia. Be sure to pick up some of the tackles postcards and send them in. Okay, look, very bad photoshopping. Before, well, I think Photoshop was already out. Windows 3.1. Maybe this was done with the Amiga. It had quite good photo manipulation software. Lawnmower Man. THQ. Look at that cover. So funny looking. Green. Can you face the dark side of virtual reality? Never seen the movie. I don't think the game will be good because it's a licensed title. Breathtaking 3D and blockbusting action. Who were even in the movie? I'm gonna check Google. Lawnmower Man. Okay, Pierce Brosnan. Some actors I don't recognize. Jeff Fahey. Where is he from? I don't know this actor. Psycho 3. What is it called? Lost. Okay. Subscribe. Yeah, with 300 pages, this at least had lots of content. I remember some Finnish gaming magazines, they barely had like 40 pages. So you felt a little bit shortchanged. What is Lunar? The Silver Star, Sega CD. The true role-playing CD sound, hot animations. Yeah, I think Sega CD or the CD-based systems would have been perfect for especially these cutscenes and obviously CD audio. But I think the drawback was that it wasn't like smooth video. It was like 10 frames per second, and it was very like choppy and small and had bad color, limited color palette. So yeah, it wasn't very well used for full motion video. It wasn't until MPEG 2 a codec was invented, and then you could have like standard definition cutscenes. But even it wasn't probably until PlayStation 2 that you could have like DVD quality video on a video game even on PC, all those like cutscenes you see in life, for example in Age of Empires, they were like very low quality, like Indio video. Like ASF files with like resolution similar to 140p. So it took a long time until we got even like standard DVD quality cutscenes in video games. because of the codec issues. It was just too hard for even like quite powerful PCs without dedicated video card to like run standard definition and resolution in proper frame rate. That is this Soldiers of Fortune. Have not played this. Looks like a little bit like Contra or Smash TV type of game. Or like what's the game I'm thinking of? Gauntlet, yeah. Image in envelope art. Babsy. Finish him. Ren and Stimpy. Whoa. Look at those thighs. Yeah. Dragon Ball Z. It's one of those series I have never got into because I never watched it as a kid, and I don't even think it was shown in the 90s. So there's no excuse. It's just like there was no way to access the series in Finland. More about ratings. Super Emperor Strikes Back. Why is this black and white? Okay, Bomberman. Party Pack. What is this? Oh, it's like a get a 4-player adapter. Yeah. Multitap. I think there were also like games that allowed to have 2 multitaps linked together, so you could have 8-player multiplayer, but how often was that the case? I didn't probably even have that many friends. You know, usually I would only have 1 or 2 friends coming to my house. It was extremely rare, even with like N64 or GameCube days, to be able to play 4-player multiplayer. New breed of park. Jurassic Park for Sega CD. Yeah, last time I read the review of Sega Genesis version. It wasn't really good. Rating. Review crew. Okay. Game of the month. Mega Man X. Editor's choice. Platinum. Well, sure. It's one of the best action games of any systems anywhere. Superb. Yeah, I should really continue playing Mega Man X. It's just my weakness that I start playing a game and then I move on to next game without ever coming back to the game. So now I'm playing Morrowind, but maybe when I played Morrowind enough, I can come back to some Super NES games that I've paused. Art of Fighting, okay. Super NES. But yeah, I always thought that Art of Fighting is just Street Fighter 2 clone. though that's probably unfair to say. Sega Sports, greatest heavyweights. I'm not interested in boxing. Yeah, it seems that, you know, the game magazines in the United States were more interested in like sports games than European game magazines, especially because the folks in the US were so fanatic about, you know, NFL and baseball, hockey and basketball and boxing, so, and WWF, so many of the games were also reviewed, and I think some of those games were never released in Europe, especially like, you know, baseball games. Nobody in Finland, for example, is interested in baseball because we have our own national baseball that's called pesäpallo. Okay, what we have here? It's very short reviews. It's like that. What the hell? What is this? Are they like different? Different numbers. What is this review style? So I'm used to like reviews that have like different categories like sound, playability, graphics. Are you saying that like this is like 4 different opinions? So like Aladdin gets 8 from 3 reviewers and 9 from 1 reviewer. Who is this reviewer? Why do they not tell the names of the reviewers? So it's like review crew. So we got like Ed, Dano, Al, Shushi, Mike. Okay, that's weird. Weird choice to like force 5 different people to play the same game. Usually you would only have one reviewer play one game. Like, I guess it's more objective this way, but it feels like they could review more games if they didn't share the work. Then is the Menace. Oh yes, more ocean movie games. The graphics are excellent, but the controls needs a bit of work. So although the game is somewhat unappealing, the main character just doesn't come to life. Yeah, I remember James and Mike Monday's episode where they couldn't even find the run button, that they couldn't jump high enough to reach anything because for some reason they didn't know that many platformer games you can run by holding Y. Alfred Chicken. LJN. Yeah. Okay, so Cliffhanger. Poorman's Double Dragon. Oh, hey, Cliffhanger, that's by Finnish director Renny Hallin. Muka Sypeni, yes. It's too slow to my taste. 3D perspective, I like playing Wolfenstein 3D with dinosaurs. good action game for Super NES. So yeah, the Aladdin was a little bit late because the movie had come already like a year ago. And so I don't know. Maybe like Lion King, the video game came out more closer to the movie release. I don't know. And obviously in Europe everything was further delayed by many months, especially if they need some like local translation, and some games were never released like Super Mario RPG or Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI because too much translation work, even though we in Finland always had the like English version games anyway. There were never any Super NES games with Finnish text, and only like maybe a couple of children games were translated for PlayStation 1, like Harry Potter and maybe still like a Tarzan game as well. But yeah, that's why it's said that we in Finland have good English skills, because we haven't watched anything like any dubbed TV shows or played any dubbed video games. We always have the English versions with subtitles. So that's why I have so good English. Or maybe I'm just too retarded to learn from video games. But yeah, it's probably nowadays it's easier to learn English from video games because they're more text. Back in my time, NES era, there was no text in video games apart from like short menus. So you could quite easily play through the video game without understanding any of the text, and you didn't need to read any of the text. It wasn't until RPG games that you actually need to read and understand the English dialogue. But like I said, in my times there were no RPG games, so the only games I played was like platformer and action games that usually had like minimum amount of text. The only thing was like Ocarina of Time, but by that time I already had learned some English from school. So I think it's more like today kids learn English easier because the amount of text has increased in video games. It's not just in arcade games nowadays. And also you have multiplayer games where they learn English because you have to speak and listen and interact with other people, so you learn English there. But back in my days I didn't have to. There was no like audio or voice clips or English audio. Yeah, the first games that really had like English dialogue was like Age of Empires, the Age of Kings, where they had narrated cutscenes and dialogue. But still, there was no reason for me to speak English because I didn't do any multiplayer games and I didn't have mic anywhere anyway. Even though I remember trying some like Age of Empires multiplayer at GameSpot servers, but you know, it wasn't like I was communicating with anyone. Super Goal Dune, Eternal Champions. Major Mike's Games Roundup. Soldier Fortune, Young Melly. Yeah, I don't like this review style when they don't even show proper pictures of the games. Like in-depth review, unless this is just like preview of the review, and the longer reviews are later in the game, in the magazine. Pick some real what? Ass. Build the fighting word of your choice. Gesture Cheetah for Genesis. Dracula was Sega CD, and I think this is one of the worst games ever. Time Killers, Lost Vikings. So it's pretty cool, but then again, it should be it's on CD. Slow with a lot of choppy graphics. Yeah, I think Sega CD really killed all the hype about CD being so great, because all the like Mega CD games were so crappy that I think people were taken back to the earth from praising CD too much. Like I said, it wasn't until PlayStation when like the developers could really utilize the capacity of CD well and not just waste all the megabytes for stupid full motion videos which no one likes, or making the game even run in a full motion video and have just sprites overlaid on top of that. That was like worst kind of video game. I think the main goal in video game is have a nice, cool, and great gameplay experience. Everything else comes later. Like graphics don't matter, audio doesn't matter. Only the game idea and how it plays matters. And with Sega CD and other CD-based systems like 3DO, they went the wrong way. They tried to do something cool and new with the graphics because they could have full motion video and cutscenes and so on, but then they totally neglected the gameplay aspect. And that's why we got so many like shovelware quality games for those consoles. Put joins the parade. 3DO. What the hell is this? Like some kind of kids game. It's like a point and click adventure. I don't think there was like mouse for 3DO. And a Steam NES. This is very late for NES because this was 1993. It's almost 1994. Joanne Mac for Genesis. More than the Super NES version, in that it's actually closer to the arcade version. But I think the arcade version isn't as good or as long as the Super NES version, so that's not a good aspect. Usually arcade port is often inferior to dedicated console conversion that adds more stuff than just the arcade port. Rescue Rangers. Only 6. It's one of the best games on NES. Makes you fish for a 16-bit version, yeah. It's interesting that, you know, there was never like DuckTales or Rescue Rangers games on 16-bit consoles. It's kind of sad, because I would have liked like DuckTales 3 or Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers 3 or Super NES. But I think, you know, the shows were over already, so there was no like market for them anymore. Instead we have some like new characters like Darkwing Duck, like what's the other show, Gargoyles, Lufia. I think I played this a little bit. What the hell is this? Another Street Fighter 2 clone. 35 killer moves. Any of these guys could kick Guile's butt. Use Street Fighter 2 as your training wheels. Eternal Champions. Yeah. It's kinda boldy to like claim to be better than Street Fighter 2 just by being an inferior clone of it. Eternal Champions. Well, the art style is cool anyway. Look at those muscles. Yeah, it's epic, radical. Yeah, they're not talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anymore, because that was like a huge franchise a couple of years earlier. But you know, by 1994, I think anything involving turtles was just like, that's so 1991 or something, or 1989. So people were quite fed up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by now. We're still getting more Simpsons games, but they suck. Don't like it. Just like Ren and Stimpy. Game Gear. James Bond for Amiga CD. Amiga CD, do you mean CD32? I think it was the same thing. 4. Couldn't be satisfied. Sonic Chaos for Game Gear. I have not played this, or have I? It's not the port of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a new game completely. Okay. What is this? Sunset Riders. Didn't even know this game exists. It's like a Konami arcade port. Must be, yeah, all 7 shoot 'em up arcade levels. Well, if it's just an arcade port, then yeah, it's gonna be a very short game or very hard game to beat. Yeah, I don't know how many games by percent were like arcade ports. I guess on Sega the percent number was higher, maybe like 1/5, or maybe 1/4 of the games were just arcade ports. And obviously with the, like with Neo Geo it was 100%, but I usually, or my opinion is that the arcade ports usually were quite lazy, offered quite lazy home console version, because just the dynamic of arcade game is so different compared to the home console game. You want home console game to last very long, be somewhat easy to play, and be quite forgiving, but it's exactly the opposite for arcade games, where they want to have new players to put coins in, so it's very hard right from the beginning. There's like time limited life and credits, and usually the game is very short if the player doesn't die, so it's made longer because of the difficulty. So when you compare like Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island to like some Streets of Rage or like some another arcade port, it's just they feel completely like different games. One is very long adventure, providing like weeks or months of entertainment. One is like, okay, you're on the first level and you have to like grind the same level over and over again, and you get killed so easily. So I think it's very unsatisfying to play arcade games on home console, because it's okay when you're in amusement arcade, play one game for like 5 or 10 minutes and then die or run out of coins, but because you cannot run out of coins when you're at home, so there's no really reason to get stuck on the first or second level, because the game only has like 7 or 8 levels. It's a very short game compared to like Mario games that have like 50 or more levels. Okay, what do we have here? Top 10s. Blabbermouths. Walk. Here are 10 games with voices that are goofy. Possum. Awesome Possum. Genesis. Never played that. Wayne's World. Okay. Yoda. Super Empire. Super NES. Yeah, I guess. Well, you can't really tell what's the funny thing, because it's not a interactive magazine. You can't just click here and hear the voice line. You just have to believe that, okay, there's funny lines without hearing the actual voice clips. I think this would have been perfect for like CD-ROM review. You could have like examples of different voice clips in video games on magazine. You know, it's the same thing like reading, doing like audio reviews or CD reviews or vinyl reviews on a magazine. You want to hear the tracks, but because it's a magazine, you can't hear even the samples. So you just have to like believe the reviewer about the audio or the music without hearing it. Nowadays you can obviously just Google the piece and hear it yourself. Editor's top 10, Mega Man X. Put joins the parade. What? This adorable game almost made it to 1. Really? Are they joking? Readers top 10, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Streets of Rage. Yeah, everything was about beat 'em up in 1993. Just punching and kicking. Super Emperor Strikes Back. Jurassic Park. Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are still somewhat alive here. Biometal. I have not played it, but it's a shmup and I don't like shmups too much. America's Software Headquarters. Madden. Super Bowl. Yeah, you can really tell that this is a United States magazine. Madden. You know, if this was like UK release or like Nordic list of most sold games, it would be totally different kind of list. Yeah, I would like to read also like some Finnish magazines, but then again, I wanna keep my channel language in English, so it wouldn't be smart to read a magazine that you guys cannot even understand. I would also like to read like maybe like French or German magazines, but I don't speak French nor German, so maybe in the future when you have like AI powered, you know, on screen OCR translation apps that can translate on the fly everything that's on a PDF, but these days it's not possible. You could like translate a couple of text boxes with Google Translate, but reading the whole magazine won't be possible. Panasonic introduces interactive multimedia 3DO, real 3DO. Yeah, it's like CDI, so we have multimedia as well as video games. It's interesting that the CDI is not mentioned. I think was it out already, or was it just forgotten already? Pro soccer. Yeah, soccer. It's that ball game that the Europeans play. It's like inferior version of our football. Okay. Winter Olympic Games. Yeah, there's Lillehammer 1994. Yeah. So like on Saturday it's the opening ceremony of Cortina Milan Winter Olympics. So it would be interesting to actually play some winter sports games, but I think many of them suck quite badly, and I don't know any good game. I would actually like to have like proper downhill simulator. That would be nice. And I think there are a couple of like alpine skiing PC games, but I don't know if any of them are like on Steam, or I think there was like RTL alpine skiing game released 10-15 years ago, but I don't know what's the like the best downhill game at the moment, or is there anything? But yeah, I really liked the 90s because there was so many different versions of the games. Nowadays you have the exactly same game released on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, with no real differences. But these days the versions would differ drastically. For example, Game Boy would be the most simplistic, and then we would usually have like a Super NES and Sega Genesis games that were quite close to each other, but sometimes they were even developed by different porting team, and then there would be like maybe a PC version that would be upgrade, and maybe Sega CD version that would be somewhat different. And obviously then PlayStation came out, and we could see more differences, but I don't think many games are well actually released both on Super NES and PlayStation, or Sega Genesis and PlayStation, or Game Boy and PlayStation. There were a couple of games that usually like saw release on maybe on PlayStation and PlayStation 2 and maybe Game Boy Advance, so they were different, but I don't remember many games that were released on both 16 and 30-bit consoles. Usually if you had PlayStation game, it would be only released on maybe on PC or Sega Saturn. But anyway, I like this period when there were so many different versions that felt like a completely different game every time, depending on the port. Sony details 32 bits PSX. Sony of Japan officially announced their new 30-bit game system codenamed PSX last month. Specs: DSP, CD-ROM only, 16 million colors, image processing, polygons, sound, DPCM, RAM more than 3DO, able to compress and decompress real full-frame video on the fly, 60 frames per second using all 60. Yeah, but it wasn't even called PlayStation. I'm actually gonna check what does the X mean? What does X mean in PSX? Experimental experience. experience. Okay. Or maybe because it had the X button on the controller. PlayStation experimental. Okay. Something I don't know if they knew themselves it's like experience or experimental. FX. Yeah, Turbo PC Engine CD. What game is this? I think there was like Virtua Racing on next console. Huh. Video game gun. Sega of Japan now on cable. Stored electronically in a host computer at cable TV station. They usually have a large game receiver card available to store 60 megabytes of game program. What the fuck? It's like cable TV. But it's not internet, but it's on the cable TV. Yeah, like I said, Japan was years ahead of every other nation in terms of technology back in the early 90s and mid 90s. But yeah, I think I will continue reading the magazine next time, so yeah, thanks for watching. Bye bye.